And you don't, and you may not know that. You may not know who's watching you. What, you know, we like to criticize a lot of times our generation that will come after us. What we have to do is we have to determine new strategies to engage and save. And we do that by offering resources. That person that may not have thought anything except I need to get out of school may now at 23, 24 years later, 24 years old, decide that they need to learn how to read. They need to know how to find a reference. And they may need not only your knowledge, your transfer of the word, they also may need your tolerance, your patience, your understanding. They may need for you to mentor them. Because if you don't, we don't know, they may come back, and this time they may be the person that tests your workplace violence prevention plan. Now, we do know that there are stressors in our society. Right now, we're talking about economic downturns and all of these other words, but we realize that there are populations that have been dealing with economic downturns for a long time. We may have friends that are just now having a lot of catastrophes or some type of challenge, but we know also that there are people that their whole life and the life of their others and the ones before that has been a continuous life stressor and just trying to stay on board. So when we say there are two sides to every story, when that person comes in, I want you to embrace a few things that speak to what we as the public expect from the transformational leadership that you embody as keepers of the word. Well, one thing that we wanted to look at is individual consideration. No one wants to be looked at invisibly. Each person is a human that has their own humanity. Now, of course, we all take very much pride in the fact that we're from North Carolina, or we're from a certain school, or we belong to a certain cultural group or ethnic classification. We take pride in that. And when someone outside of whatever is the valley of our familiar comes before us, a lot of times we tend to attach our perception of that group that that person represents. And then we refuse then to make each person judged by the character that they bring before us. We diminish not only their humanity, but our own when we fall into stereotypes and when we give in to ethnocentric thinking. So how do you give individual consideration? Well, I said tips. I'm not in here to just say, I'm here to give you tips. Individual consideration happens first thing you wake up. When you get up in the morning, I don't know how many Southern people are in here, but if you had Southern grandparents, getting up morning, that was a good morning. It was a lot better than a stay down, lay down. That's what they call awake. You stay awake because this one's not getting up. First thing in the morning, train yourself. And I'm going to tell you how you can do that. Just think on some of those bad days that you've had. Think on an illness. Think on something terrible or tragic that's happened to you and how relieved you were when it was over. And then just realize today is one of those days you woke up. You saw the sun shining in your face. I am a Southern child. My grandparents came, my grandmother was in Anson County, North Carolina. And there was something that she would do every Sunday. They would talk about seeing the sun on your face, clothed in your right mind, with a reasonable portion of health and strength. And it took me the longest to understand what were they saying, and not only that, why were they saying it. When they said clothed in your right mind, they meant enclosed in your right mind. And like I said, my grandma could not read, but think of how much intelligence it took her at 108 years old to try to glean and understand what words meant and what was the word. And no, it wasn't pronounced correctly, but guess what? I mean, it was another language. What was the word, and then what did it mean? And so what they were saying was, I thank you for seeing the sun, being able to see the sun and feel it on my face. Somebody didn't do that this morning. And not only that, I'm enclosed in my right mind. And we all know people, well, we see them every day, that are not necessarily, in our opinion, I won't say anymore. And then when we say a reasonable portion of health and strength, after 50, you tend to embrace some of those things that don't work the same way they did before 50. You know, pain takes on a whole new thing. You know, anybody under 50 in here, you will tell somebody about an ache of pain. Oh, my leg hurts. I don't know what I did. I must have ran yesterday, and I must have pulled a muscle, or, you know. After 50, you don't even say anything.